Hello and welcome back to your Lab 8 instructional video on earthquakes and faults. So I'm going to kind of jump through this lab pretty quick because it's quite self-explanatory. We begin off learning about the Richter scale, introducing what earthquakes are and what faults are basically. We move into what causes them and what do we identify the locations in which it has an origin or where it is observed on the surface. As we progress through the lab, we begin to talk about how to locate that actual epicenter. We identify that there are different types of waves. They operate very differently from one another, and they also travel at different speeds. We will also learn, as you work through the modules, that certain waves are able to transfer through liquid, and others are not. Now that we understand that information, we're able to go to a diagram such as this and say, well, let's just say that you work at station A, and you received an S wave at 6:32 p.m. and then your device picked up an L wave at 6:39. We see that there are 7 minutes that separate those two waves. Well, your first step is to go down here and mark off where 7 minutes is. We'll say that's 7 minutes right there. So you'll get a piece of paper and you will measure that out and draw it out. Then we're done with that part of the diagram. Then we move over here. We went through an S and an L wave. So you take that piece of paper and with that perpendicular line that you've drawn, you move downward until both top and bottom of that line fits perfectly within it. Then you draw a line going all the way down. Then you're done with this part here. Now we're only going to deal with this part down here. New piece of paper, you measure from 0 to the point that you intersected here, and that is your physical distance in kilometers of which the earthquake happened from you. So you work step by step. Step A is calculate the time, measure the time out on a piece of paper. Then you take the time and match it up between the two waves in particular. Then once you measure those waves in particular, you draw a line going down, and then that marks the distance. Then you draw a line on a piece of paper to show that distance. Why is that important? Well, if you watch the Bill Nye video that I have shared on Canvas, he teaches you about triangulation. So what ends up happening is you then put your piece of paper here and go, well, the earthquake happened that far away from me. Well, that could be true, but we don't know what direction. So you'll keep drawing your points until you actually create a circle around your location. Stay within the topographic map. Don't go beyond that. You will do that for station A, B, and C. All three circles will intersect on one point. If you've done it correctly, it should be about the size of an eraser pencil that all three circles intersect. If it's bigger than an eraser in a circle, double check your work so that we don't lose any credit on this activity. The next step is modeling faults. So I'm going to scroll all the way down to the end, and here we have a very simplistic model. You color it, you then use these, you fold it up, it makes a box. These gray tabs get glued along the side, so you create a box. Then you cut along this dash line. This dash line represents a fault line. Once you have that, now you have two halves to this box. We will see that you have rock layers X, Y, Z. They are continuous across all four sides. We identify that there's a river that flows on top, and there's also a road. Well, these letters on the side are how this activity works. So you can always keep the model in its normal box shape. You go back up here, and it says, when doing this activity, you read what this is. Okay, we're learning about a fault. In fact, we're going to learn how to make a normal fault, which is associated with extensional forces. Locate letter A and B. Move B so it's next to A. Then observe the cross-section or the profile. What does the side of it look like? Draw the fault as you have made it in this box here. Then you answer the questions below. What happens to the river? What happens to the road? What happens to the railroad? Explain your answer. The key here is to learn when you have your box in its normal shape and you are moving one side to match another letter. What type of forces are involved? Is it, converging? Is it extending? Or is it sliding? What's happening to the layers of rock? Have they moved to a point they're no longer perfectly continuous? Are they offset? Or did they only move to the side so they're still in the same order with no difference? So you will complete that for a normal fault, reverse fault, and a transform fault. Be sure to use your imagination when looking at all the sides because, as an example, if the road separates or moves away or goes up or down, look at the direction in which the water's flowing. Does it turn into a waterfall? Will it turn into a lake? What ends up happening with it? Use your imagination, okay? The last part that you're going to be looking at is this tectonic Google Earth web activity. So this time you're not going to use Google Earth Pro like you did in the earlier lab. You're actually going to use Google Earth. I provided you the link here. You will walk yourself through this activity that has you sign in using your school Gmail account. There's a file. It's called a KML file, which is a file that has been predetermined with imagery and everything that's going to go onto this globe. And it takes you step by step on how to do this. Shows you first do this, first do that. This is the activity. And then you have these spots where you're writing your answers. Once you're done, you get to this part here where it allows you to Google where all of these locations are along our globe, and you're going to circle or mark, is it a convergent, divergent, or transform? Does it converge, diverge, or trans? So then you'll identify that. This takes you step by step through the entire activity. This part should take you about 15 to 25 minutes at max. So make sure you take your time and follow the instructions clearly. Again, where you found this PDF, right next to it is where you'll find the file that you'll download, the KML file. Then you'll have to upload the file. Click on Save and upload it to this account. It will then layer as an image on top of the entire Earth. It's going to project essentially a couple different things. It's going to identify fault boundaries and zones, and it's going to show you divergence and the age in which that rock was deposited. So it's really a neat activity. Well, nonetheless, enjoy this lab and this activity. Remember, you have 2 things to submit this week, and we'll talk soon.